Thank you for that wonderful video. There's so many friends in this room. Thank you for coming. If I haven't met you yet, I look forward to meeting you. Thank you, Bobby and Chosen People Ministries, for having me. I am serving as the Senior Director of Communications for this coalition, and I'm also serving in communications for the Alliance for the Peace of Jerusalem. But my background is I am a Gentile Christian. I was named Esther by God's grace, and I actually was orphaned by my birth family. I talk about that in my first book, No More Faking Fine. But I believe that God has raised me up for such a time as this to use my voice to stand with and for the Jewish people. So even your attendance tonight is a blessing. Thank you. I think that this cause is more urgent than ever, and we need everyone to participate. So may God bless you for your time. Thank you for coming. As I was working with the Alliance for the Peace of Jerusalem, I found that a lot of people couldn't fully align with us due to theological differences. They might have had different views on the end times, different views on the covenants, different views on the land promises. But after October 7th happened, it's time, we said. Dr. Mitch Glazer, the Chosen People Ministries team, and many others said it's time that we raise our voices, both Christians and Messianic Jews, and we stand against anti-Semitism in all forms, and we stand against Jewish hatred. I don't know about you, but I've been in several Christian churches, and I have not heard very many people talk about returning the hostages or the suffering that the Jewish people are going through. And as a Christian, we are called to mourn with those who mourn. Where are all the lamenting Christians? Where are all the Christians who are mourning what Israel is mourning, what the Jewish people are mourning? And so we're here to say no more. We are not naive to the background that Christians have partaken in anti-Semitism that, of course, led to the Holocaust. And so if you are a Jewish person in this room, I want to say I am sorry. We are not unaware of how Christians were silent. And there is an army of Christians that is rising up to stand with you and to say never again. And we believe never again is now. So I want to draw your attention, if you would, on your seats. There was what we stand for, this coalition. We have 7 different points that I'm not going to take the time to read through all of them, but I would like to introduce the concept to you as you're thinking if you could be a part of this or thinking how you can stand against anti-Semitism in your own circles. But I'd like to just highlight some of those. We'll have them on the screen, and I'll read through a few of them. And then we're going to hear from Dr. Michael Rydelnik, who has a powerful testimony. And I think we're all going to be moved by that. So first, we are building a coalition against anti-Semitism, which will propose several ways to oppose anti-Semitism through education, activism, public demonstrations, rallies, lectures, social media, and initiating various public events with a particular emphasis on college campuses. We will work to influence local churches, seminaries, and colleges, denominations, and Christian institutions to make them aware of rising anti-Semitism while also providing resources and practical advice of how to counter anti-Jewish attitudes within their sphere of influence. Our founding statement expresses our conviction that God chose the Jewish people for his purposes and how anti-Semitism, which contradicts God's covenant, is satanic. It also surveys the various forms of anti-Semitism and how this has taken on different forms over the centuries. Just last week, we had a team of staff that was in the UK, and they were revealing a study showing how the growing trends of anti-Semitism in Europe and in Ireland. And that was picked up, an article was picked up by the Times of Israel, and we're going to be doing similar studies to show how this growing trend of anti-Semitism is happening, and sadly, it's also happening in the church. And we're not going to sit quietly as that goes on. So let's look at our founding statement. First, I do want to say for the media in the room that we do affirm, and we are so grateful for the IHRA, the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti-Semitism. So we have that right on our website, opposeantisemitism.com. We agree with this definition, and we believe it's important. It's important in all forms, even for the government. We are advocating for the government to adapt this as they are taking a stand against anti-Semitism. So here's some of what we stand for. We have 7 points I'd like to run through quickly. Number 1, the spiritual origins of anti-Semitism. As our common faith declares, God created and chose the Jewish people to accomplish his purpose on earth. Therefore, the existence of anti-Semitism runs contrary to God's covenant promises to the Jewish people. Anti-Semitism is satanic in origin and is in keeping with the devil's plot to alienate the Jewish people from God's plan and for his chosen people. If this is new to you, if this conversation is new to you and you are a Christian in the room, I just want to say to you that we are called to love what God loves. And we cannot read the Bible and think that he is done with the Jewish people. When you read the Bible, both Old and New Testaments, you see that God has a deep love for the Jewish people, a deep love for Jerusalem, and we are called to love who God loves, what God loves, where God loves. That's what we should be looking like as Christians. Number 2, early anti-Judaism. Anti-Judaism, the precursor to modern anti-Semitism, became firmly embedded in church doctrine over the centuries. It's horrific. Although the New Testament conveys a positive view of Jewish people, you can look to Romans 9, chapter 9, 10 and 11 for this. The writings of the church promoted an increasingly negative view of the Jewish people, causing a growing chasm and a divide with the Jewish community. Many early Gentile Christian leaders believed and taught that God rejected the Jewish people in favor of the church. And we just want to say boldly that we reject that theology. I was with a Christian sister this week. She's been in the nonprofit space for decades. And just in passing was, talking about this event we were doing. And I said, to have no theology of Israel is actually a theology. And she followed up with me a couple days later. She said, that stuck with me. I need to process that with you because I don't have a theology of Israel. I don't have a theology of why I should care, why this impacts me. And so we do reject supersessionism, replacement theology. We believe in the core of who we are, that God is not done with the Jewish people. And we are so grateful that we have been grafted into an ongoing story that started long before we got on the scene. Number 3, anti-Semitism, we believe, is rooted in false teaching. If you want to check out the Alliance for the Peace of Jerusalem, we go into specific details of why we believe it is rooted in false teaching. And we're going to continue through this coalition to help educate why this is dangerous, why this is a false teaching. This is really important, I think, within the Christian community because we are seeing growing trends of anti-Semitism, both with the far left and the far right. And, without naming names, some of these quote unquote Christian influencers, people that have been recently converted to Christianity, have been spewing some of the most horrific anti-Semitic language. I wouldn't even call it anti-Semitism. I would say it is Jew hatred. And so we are going to be working to not just vocally condemn that, but provide resources for the church, for all of us, for Messianic Jews, for Christians, for whoever you are in your sphere of influence, to stand up and have the confidence that this is a false theology and this is not how God operates or talks of people. Number 4 is the growth of racial anti-Semitism. We saw this in the pogroms of Eastern Europe in the 19th and early 20th centuries. And then number 5 is anti-Semitism and global conspiracy theories. Of course, we're hearing this from, who these quote unquote Christian influences are. Number 6 is Islamic anti-Semitism. We were debating, I kind of pushed back on this early on because I thought, this is kind of dangerous territory, right? If we start talking about this Islamic anti-Semitism, but post 10/7, how can you not? When all of Israel is grieving today and the Jewish community around the world is grieving today, a mother who was buried with her 2 sons, an infant and a toddler, and I have an infant and a toddler at home. And we saw several jihadist groups carrying her coffin. How can we not show the past of not only Christian anti-Semitism that is wrong, but also Islamic anti-Semitism? and stand up against it. And number 7 is the Coalition Against Antisemitism and the Gospel Message. Our coalition calls on all of us to seek the good of Israel, to seek the good of the Jewish people, and to join hands with the Jewish people, both here and all over the world. The scriptures also affirm that the God of Israel will one day fulfill all of his promises to his chosen people. So we invite you to be a part of this coalition with us. We need everyone. Never again is now. Dr. Michael, please come up and share with us.